Now, if you remember at the beginning, I was telling you how uncomfortable this is for me to do this, and now I'm going to tell you why. I think some of you know this about me already, but when you are looking at me, you're looking at a learning disabled student who grew up. If I were in any public school in our country today, I would be in special classes. I could not read until I was 14 years old. Couldn't do math, still have trouble with numbers. I honestly do not get them. Couldn't write. I mean, can you imagine how I felt when I was your age? I made up my mind, actually when I was much younger than you, that there was something very wrong with me, that I was deeply flawed, and that I was stupid, and that I was dumb and pointless. Honestly, I didn't even dare to have dreams. Why should I? They don't happen to losers like me. My nightmare, you just witnessed, it was reading in front of my class. And in the old days, I'm not kidding, literally, they used to get you out of your seat, make you come up to the front of the room, open a book, and then stand there and face all of those kids. For me, honest to God, this was like standing in front of a firing squad. The book would start shaking, my knees would start buckling, my heart honestly would pound so hard, you kids in the back row could hear it. I remember hanging onto the book so tight, literally, I broke all of my fingernails. What I remember the most was looking into the faces of those kids, and inside I was thinking, oh God, I can't breathe. Please don't make me do this in front of them, please. Not in front of them, because they're all going to know. They're going to know now. They're going to know how stupid I am. But I would still try. Didn't matter how hard I tried. My brain changes what I see. I have dyslexia, dysnumeria, dysgraphia, and something called failure of sensory integration, which means I cannot hold still either. So can you imagine being in a classroom where they made you sit and not move? When you can't read and you can't do anything that everybody else does. It was the horror of my life. And what made it so tragic, in my day, there was no one to help us. There was no one that understood learning difference. No one knew in those days. And what was horrifying is when I would go back to my seat after I read in front of all those kids, every single kid in that room, every one of them started laughing at me. They laughed. And I'm telling you, that really hurt. Because honestly, I was doing my best. I've come to realize now, most kids, I think they're actually very concerned for another when they see kids that are struggling. They're actually embarrassed, but they don't know how to handle it, so they laugh. And in public schools, let me tell you, they're unmerciful. And what made it even worse, you'd think the laughter would have been enough. I had a group of kids that made me their hobby. Oh, honey, they followed me out on the playground. They danced around me. They showed their teeth. I mean, they were like sharks. And they started calling me names and making fun of me, ridiculing me. In my day, we called people like them bullies. And what's really, really sad is most schools in our country are absolutely full of kids just like that. Now, bullying has taken on an even more horrifying dimension. Now they use text messaging and emailing to bully someone. Far worse. Because let me tell you something. You have a problem with me, you better be man enough or woman enough to say it to my face. Don't you dare hide behind an electronic device. And you don't know who your accusers are. You have no defense. Kids are committing suicide because of this in schools today. This is a horror. And what's the matter? I mean, I don't understand. I don't know how it is at this school. I would imagine since you kids have sympathy and understand what it is to learn differently, you don't tease each other. But in public schools, you're fair game. And let me tell you, the girls in junior high are the worst. I mean, if somebody could enlighten me, what happens to them when they get over there? They seem to think the only way they can be all that is by dumping on and hurting other people. And I honestly don't get it. How does that make anyone feel good when they're torturing another person? I really don't get it. And you realize, of course, people who tease other people, they are the ones who have the problem. If you're being teased, trust me, there's nothing wrong with you. There's something wrong with people who do it. Truly, they need psychiatric help. So think about that. I know you kids don't do it. Here's the other thing that in all of my wanderings in schools and education now, here's another fact that I found out. You kids, I know most of you in this room learn differently. And maybe inside you may think that you're less than, or that you're dumb, or you're stupid. And I know your teachers have told you you're not, and your parents, honestly, they're not lying to you. They just finished 37 years of scholarship and study. Young people, as it turns out, that learn differently are usually drop-dead geniuses. So brilliant. They have no idea how to access most of what you know. And you kids know things. Intuitively, you know. It's literally being a genius means you know things without having to study them. You know them. And that's who you are. And I'm not at this school, so I don't know exactly how it goes here. But when I get to be among young people like you, I'm always heartened because you kids have had to fight so hard to learn. You don't realize what an advantage that's going to be to you someday. Nothing has come easily for you. And that actually builds amazing character, that you are extraordinary people. I would guess in this room, because I'm looking in your faces and looking at your eyes, there very well could be the doctor sitting right here who's going to discover the cure for cancer. I lost my mother to that disease. I am a survivor of that disease, and as of this last year, so is my daughter. So it's no joke. What if one of you is that doctor? What if you are? What if some of you end up leading our nation, leading people? Because you will. You're going to become leaders. You may not believe me, but you will. Because you've had such adversity, you're going to step over all of that eventually and be extraordinary people. And you don't know how lucky you are to be in a place where you have qualified, probably some of the finest teachers in our country who know how to help you. In my day, we didn't have that. We just suffered. We just suffered. So, take advantage of being here. Take advantage of that native, amazing intelligence you have, and you go for it. Because I do believe with all of my heart, you're going to be extraordinary leaders someday. Anybody have any questions they want to ask me just real quickly before we move on? You don't want to know what kind of car I drive, how much money I make? Kids always want to know that. Yes, sweetie?
What kind of car do you drive?
I drive an SUV, but I have a farm, so I can. I have sheep and goats and horses, so I need that kind of car. And we have snow up to here. I live in Michigan, and in Michigan, here's the difference between Denver and Michigan. I know you have a lot of snow this year, but you get to see the sunshine. I've forgotten what it looks like. In Michigan, we have seen it 4 days this winter. That's it. Oh, how wonderful it is here. Yes, sweetie? Yes.
How many acres do you have?
About 27. It's not a working farm. Working farms have thousands of acres. My sheep and my goats are my pets.
Yeah.
And I love them. I've got a sick goat today who's at MSU, so keep some good thoughts for that little girl. I'm worried about her. She stopped eating, and we don't know why. And what's terrifying, it's better if you can find out why. We don't know. They've tested her for everything. All come up negative. And she keeps losing weight, so I don't know what's going to happen. Yes, sweetie?
First of all, I'm very sorry for your goat.
Thank you.
And second, what's your favorite animal?
All right, now I've got several. It isn't just one. Goats are amazing, and if any of you, if you haven't experienced a goat, you need to. We're not to have one on campus here. They keep it mowed. Well, but a goat, they're exceptional animals. I raise draft horses, Belgians. I have 2 Weimaraner dogs that I love. I almost don't dare tell you how many cats I have. Because if any of you have been watching A&E Animal Hoarders, I don't want you to say anything now. Because
That's all right. We used to be cat hoarders.
Really? Well, I have 36 of them.
We used to have 30-something.
Well, see? Actually, in my house, I've got 7. and I have 12 in my studio. I built a house on my property because we actually do animal rescue. I've got about 18 in there. And in my barn, there's millions of them, but they're feral and I can't do anything about them. But no. I tell you, you pick up a feral cat, they go through you like an electric pencil sharpener. So, but I didn't give you my background. I'm Patricia Polacco and I write and illustrate children's books. I didn't start writing until I was 41 years old. And I've been writing now for 25 years. So you kids, if you can do your numbers, have just figured out how old I am. In this 25 years, I've written, illustrated, and sold almost 77 books. There's two reasons, this is interesting, why I think I became an author. The first reason is I come from a family of storytellers. My mother's people came here from Russia and the Ukraine. People from that part of the world love to tell stories. My dad's people came here from Ireland. Show me an Irishman that can't tell a story. Ain't no such thing. And then my best friend, if you've seen the book Chicken Sunday, you probably figured out my best friend is African American. I grew up with him. I consider his family mine. They came from the bayous of Louisiana. And could they tell stories? So I think probably the reason I am the way I am is I came from a family of amazing tellers. Every night they told us stories. We listened to them. We didn't watch them. We listened. Which is probably the second reason I ended up doing what I do. Guess what contraption wasn't in my house? We all have today. Did you point the clicker out? What do you think I'm talking about? No TV? Didn't own one. So every evening, my grandmother used to do what she called fire ducking. She'd put a fire in the fireplace in the living room. She'd go in the kitchen and pop a huge bowl of popcorn. If we were lucky, she made fudge. She picked snow apples fresh off from the tree outside of the kitchen. My brother and I'd go in with our little bowls, and she'd wedge apple and put fudge and popcorn in there, and then she'd say, "Go in living room, I'm going to come in and fire duck to you." And we'd roar in, just the way you are now, and sit. Oh my God, I think I've heard her stories 1,000 times. I do remember, though, whenever she finished a story, my brother and I would lean into her and say, "Okay, that story you just told, is that a true story?" She'd look at us over the top of her glasses and say, "Well, of course it's a true story." But it may not have happened. What she was saying is profound because you realize all stories are true. They all are. Whether the circumstance within them ever happened or not doesn't matter. Because the truth is the journey you take through that story. Did it make you laugh? Did it make you cry? Did it make you wonder about things? Did it make you seek and want justice? That's the truth of the story. Do you have a question,
I have
sweetie?
a comment and a question.
Okay.
My question is, what type of writing do you do?
Personal narratives, which means these are stories pretty much based about my life and the world around me and people that I know and love. I am working actually on my first chapter book. It's coming out for Scholastic, and it's about the Holocaust, and it's going to be called The Pishki Box. Hard writing, this is hard, because the subject is killing me. I can never wrap my mind around what makes people do these evil things to others. I don't get it. What happens to someone's soul? So that's the hard part of it. The writing is hard too, but this chapter book is going to be different in that each chapter has a drawing. So it's going to be almost like a picture book for older people, but I think we will have to still put chapter captions on it to qualify it for the library.